Misha Petrov officially transitioned to a transracial black woman. I wish I made that sentence up, but that actually happened. Every time I sit down to record another video, I question my sanity. I went on vacation for 9 days. It was wonderful. And you may be wondering, Gabriel, why should we care? Well, normally you shouldn't, but it just made me realize how unbelievably disconnected online discourse is from the actual real world. While I was enjoying cheap food and sunsets, this happened.
Transracial black women like myself have a more beautiful understanding of blackness than cisracial black women. And that's what I want to talk about today, especially because of all the propaganda nowadays telling black women to hate themselves. Someone that chooses to present as a black woman every single day, that's incredibly beautiful.
Sometimes I just genuinely wonder, how am I even supposed to talk about content like this?
This is brilliant. So many trans radical activists and trans people are so angry at her for pretending to be a black woman.
Obviously, people are going to be outraged about this comparison because it doesn't make any sense.
Being black has nothing to do with your body, and that insinuating that the only thing about black people that makes them black is their skin color is reductive, and it's what white supremacists do, etc., etc.
One is an inherent, genetically passed down ancestral trait that manifests in physical outward appearance that cannot be changed. The other is an innate reality, an innate feeling of someone's identity that can be changed. You'll notice that typical anti-trans rhetoric is being repurposed for this publicity stunt, even going as far as quoting the original video that she has been responding to.
Thought on this is that I think that trans women have a more beautiful understanding what womanhood is.
I agree.
And I think that unfortunately the programming for cis women it's kind of sad sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
And
yeah.
I'm like, actually, no, your womanhood is not your role. Mm-hmm. Your womanhood is not your status in society. And your womanhood is not your ability to be sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a very controversial statement to make. But beautiful in this context doesn't necessarily mean better. It could simply be a romanticized view of womanhood, one that is decoupled from a man's influence over women, over their historical oppression. Something that is obviously complicated by the fact that women have been fighting that very oppression for the past centuries. That's my interpretation, at least. And that is called nuance. Something that has become inconceivably rare in modern political discourse.
Why haven't you painted your skin black so people don't misrace you? Because trans black women don't owe you blackness. We don't owe anyone racial passing. I shouldn't have to alter my body to make other people comfortable with my identity. It's all about how you feel inside and how you identify.
But that's funny, because you cannot feel black. That is something that gets ingrained into you by the culture, by virtue of the culture that you grow up in. Being trans, for example, it's multi-causal. There's scientific, neurological, genetic, psychological, and even social factors contributing to people identifying as transgender. Completely different from something that is just being passed down from your parents. So how did we get here? Why did the internet start a civil war between biological women and trans women? After my last 2 videos, lots of women in my comment section expressed genuine fears over the trans movement. I am a cis guy. I will never be able to understand the struggle of a woman. So I listened, or rather I read. I read many reasonable responses that stemmed from genuine fear. Some women were obviously coming from a much more hostile place, basically not acknowledging the existence of trans women as women. But a lot of the responses I got weren't like that at all. They were worried that their own history and struggles were being claimed, dismissed, or even romanticized by people that hadn't lived through the same experiences. As some of them as proof of their own womanhood, basically misappropriating slurs against women as proof that they are passing as female. Both groups have very real, very different struggles, but they also have many similar struggles that in theory should unite them. Why does this seem impossible? When did it become so difficult for people to just listen to one another? I find myself so frustrated with the internet recently. I've been seriously considering getting a corporate job again, because online discourse is just not fun. I sit in front of my PC and sometimes I dread turning on the camera to make a video. I dread looking at my For You page because I know exactly what type of videos I'll be shown. I come back from a great vacation. I've talked to many local people and many of their concerns and actual real life struggles, and then I see this.
This was the KKK's actual main goal. After the Civil War, the white people down south were outraged that their farm equipment was going around voting and gaining rights. They were so salty about getting spanked by the greatest general, Ulysses S. Grant, in the Union Army, that they formed a gang to burn black schools, churches, and Merck supporters.
And unsurprisingly, it's not even his worst example.
Yo, bro, you think you can recreate 9/11? Well, unfortunately, I don't have the desire to do it since I'm not Middle Eastern, but after doing some extensive research, I found that many countries knew about the plans. Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Israel, but no one warned the US because they wanted their involvement in the region.
Why? I also recently revisited Basic Logic, not because I wanted to cover him, but just out of basic curiosity. Just to see what he was up to, since we go back and we have such a history together. His videos were still the same, but now he has 300,000 subscribers. A radical right channel has gained 300,000 subscribers in a span of, what, 10 months? And it concerns me. It really fucking concerns me. And I genuinely didn't understand it. There were countless videos criticizing this exact kind of content. People were pointing out the extremism, the misinformation, the obvious red flags, yet it didn't stop the channel from growing. Like, at all. And then I found out that cockroach bender and staunch anti-big hygiene activist as Mongold reacted to his videos.
There's a roach flying at me. Give me a minute. Where'd he go? Oh, shit. He's on my belly. Look at him. He's right there. Oh, God.
Not once, twice.
Racial egalitarianism, all arguments ranked and debunked.
A guy so extreme that he openly said this about children and women.
I think they should just fucking shoot him. If you don't want to get shot, then don't bring your fucking kids. You mean you'd shoot adults and deport the kids, right? Well, I'd shoot whoever. Yeah, I'd shoot whoever. I mean, if it's kids, women, men, anybody, just shoot them. They're gonna stop coming over.
Right. This punishment, by the way, the equivalent of a free vacation on Twitch. A 2-week ban. I can't even include a swear word in the first 30 seconds or my video will get killed in reach. But he can just advocate for human rights massacres and is totally fine. He just gets a vacation and he doesn't get the privilege to earn his millions for 2 weeks. That's one of the biggest right-wing Twitch streamers in the world circle jerked Basic Logic into the stratosphere. This exposure likely led to Basic Logic tripling his subscriber count base in the past 3 weeks. And it made me wonder whether reasonable opinions on the internet are just doomed to fail. And whether people are actually just sick of left-leaning opinions and rhetoric. You've seen the videos too. Countless street interviews that expose people's deep hatred for immigrants. Anti-LGBTQ witch hunts merely disguised as protecting the children. Content is getting more extreme by the day, and our definition of what is deemed extreme is rapidly shifting with it. Racism has now lost its meaning. In fact, it's become a badge of honor, a rite of passage for those that claim they're fighting for freedom of speech. People on the internet don't care about hiding their hatred anymore. In fact, most of them are proud of it because they genuinely think they are defending their culture, their history against foreign invaders. And for me, it's just frustrating to see because from my perspective, I don't hold extreme left-wing opinions. I think that I try to be as reasonable as I can with many of the things I say. And I always try to look at both perspectives because I have said many times both perspectives have valuable insights. But now, look at where we are. We are in a society that completely normalizes racism and hatred. And it makes me sad because I see the countless workers from abroad that try so hard to live, to survive in a society that categorically hates them now. I'm just scared of our future because I don't know how to counteract these narratives. I'm considering whether this is a viable career path for me, whether this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. How am I going to wake up every morning looking at the internet in complete disappointment and disgust and making videos about obvious hatred towards me and people like me? The main point of trying to even make content in the first place was to educate. Obviously, I also want to entertain. But whenever I see right-wing content with, in my opinion, very harmful, dangerous opinions, hundreds of thousands of people engaging with these ideas, supporting them, just makes me feel like I failed. I know it's not my responsibility because I am not the only left-wing creator on the platform. I'm not the only person that is trying to speak out against content like this. And I know I cannot take responsibility for content creators that I've covered that are doing way better. And that is also due to my channel being small still. But it's just disheartening to see. That's why I need some breaks in between making videos sometimes, because I just need to remind myself that there is people with reasonable opinions, that the real world does look a little different and it's not as hateful as you may think it is. Because when you are on the internet, as some people may say, chronically online, then yeah, it feels like a lot of hate is being spread around. Like it's just nothing, like it's casual. And I don't think that's how it should be, to be honest. I hope that we can reverse this trend of right-wing extremism and learn to understand each other once more. Because in the end, it's about people's welfare. Depressing comeback, I know. Take care and stay safe out there.